But anyway, let's continue on with the Super Bowl, the halftime performance. All right, y'all. I did not. I'm not going to give too much opinion. I didn't watch the halftime performance because I was so disgusted with the game. I did see Serena Williams, the GOAT, crip walking. I ain't got no problem with it. And for those who want to say that y'all she's trolling to get at Drake because they dated at one point, no. Kendrick, first of all, it's not the first time Serena Williams has crip walk. We saw her in the Olympics. Kendrick, I think she mentioned this on social media that her and Kendrick and his team they reached out about possibly doing it in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
And Serena was like, "Wow, in the Super Bowl, the biggest stage? Yeah, why not? Let's do it." And that's what happened. I think Serena Williams just did it because of paying respect to Kendrick. She's from Compton, Kendrick's from Compton.
Yes.
That's another reason. Number two, let's not pretend or act as if we've never seen the Crip walk in the Super Bowl before. We saw it
Yeah.
3 years ago with Snoop when
Mm.
Dr. Dre, Snoop, Mary J. Blige, 50, Eminem, they performed in the Super Bowl back in Los Angeles. Okay, so let's not act like it's unprecedented. Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing new. It's new. Nah. And plus, I don't agree with what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Well, I don't. Let's just leave it at that. You just go and do the research. Look, I just think that Serena Williams just did it was because of Kendrick, because of the Compton ties, because of the music, of course, the success. BRF, you mentioned last week on my show, Not Like Us, the greatest diss track of all time. In your opinion, you made that argument. I just think that's why Serena Williams did the crip walk. And again, I ain't got no problem with it. What better way to do it in the Super Bowl, the biggest stage? As far as Kendrick's performance, I saw a little bit of it on YouTube. I mean, it was good. Once again, Kendrick Lamar establishing himself as one of the greatest. Um, the Super Bowl commercials overall, I did not like. I did not like overall. I just they were boring. I mean, distasteful to say the least. Just
I,
distasteful. I'm sorry. I did not find the commercials that entertaining to me at all. I'm sorry. I did not.
I'm sorry. You saw the one with the seal.
Psst.
I don't know what to say. Seal.
All the
I
commercials you give us to seal. Come on,
Yeah.
that's the best you can give us. That's like Vince Russo coming up with his idea with Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett on the Bash at the Beach. Come on now.
I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, the seal commercial, and not to mention, I think it was a coffee creamer commercial. You you remember the coffee creamer commercial BRF? That one was very very creepy to say the least. Uh,
I think I remember the coffee cream one. Yeah.
the dude was over there sleeping, and then yeah. But that one was a very very creepy commercial. There was a lot of creepy commercials on on the Super Bowl.
I think there was another reason for creepiness because there was a certain individual in that Super Bowl
Don't do that. Don't
from
do
the
that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let's keep it rated G. Don't do that. And you be talking about how I be pushing the envelope. So, but I will say this, man. I like Kendrick's performance, man. Look, I think that people are just looking for something to complain about. That's just me. I was not entertained. Well, in the great words, and I hate to quote Steve Harvey, but I remember one line he said on Kings of Comedy when he was playing a lot of old school music. If this ain't for you, then darn it, this ain't for you. Turn the channel. And not only that, man, look, for people to be talking about how boring it was the highest rated halftime show
yes.
in history. It was the highest rated. Matter of fact, it drew a bigger audience than the Super Bowl itself. So for people who keep saying, "Well, I just find it entertaining," well, somebody was watching the damn TV. I know I wasn't the only one. I know like 8 people in the house with me, so I know I wasn't the only one. So I'm just gonna be very, very honest. Now, granted, you may not have liked the messages that he was sending, but it was a good performance. And watching Kendrick's concerts and stuff like that, he's never been the type of jumping all around all over the place like that. So even when he had his concert in Los Angeles, you saw that. So I tip my hat off, man. 2 of the biggest weeks for hip hop and music, you know, arguably in history.
Oh,
He
by the way, champ, that Super Bowl halftime performance from Kendrick, I'm reading it right here. The Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show drew an average of 133.5 million viewers across television and digital platforms from 8:30 p.m. to 8:45 p.m., up 3% versus 129.3 million viewers from last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah. Not to mention, he beat 3 of the his ratings, Kendrick Lamar's ratings, beat 3 of the biggest icons in music history. It beat Prince, Michael Jackson, and Beyonce. Do you know how hard it is to beat Prince in the ratings? How hard it is to beat Michael Jackson at his peak? God rest his soul in ratings. How hard it is to beat Beyonce. Beyonce tickets just went out. Most of them sold out in my state. I couldn't get a ticket. I was trying to go to the Beyonce. They sold out at the state they sold out at Phillips Arena. Oh, it's State Farm Arena. Now, my bad, BRF. They sold out at State Farm Arena. So yeah, so you beat those icons in ratings, but people are talking about, but I didn't like it. Well, turn it off. I don't know what it is about it these days when you don't like something. We feel we gotta stare at it. It's kind of like, you ever been in a house with somebody and they say, and they got some real nasty food right there, and they say this nasty taste it. This nasty taste it. Or they some stink in the sink or something like that. This stink, smell it. Is that what you really gonna do? I mean, it's an oxymoron to look at something that you don't like. I mean, if you don't like it, then just turn the channel. There's plenty of opportunity. And hell, if you didn't like that halftime, they had another show over on Tubi that you could have watched. So stop complaining. Like I said, I believe that a lot of people just was looking for something to complain about. I believe that, the second, and I'm gonna be real careful about what I say. I believe the second that people feel a least bit uncomfortable, they're gonna try to complain about it and say something about it. And that's what I believe that just happened. I'm uncomfortable. I'm gonna find a reason to be uncomfortable with it, because guess what? This is not my cup of tea. This is not the first time that hip hop has performed on the biggest stage. We saw that with Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem a few years back. We saw Nelly perform on the Super Bowl. We saw Nelly perform. This ain't the first time we ever see hip hop on the biggest stage. And good, we saw Maroon 5 put on one of the worst concerts ever a couple of years ago. So let's stop complaining. And I like Maroon 5. I like She Will Be Loved. I listen to them. My sister got me listening to them back in middle school. So let's stop. If you're not going to complain about Maroon 5 and how bad that was and how bad a lot of other performances was, stop complaining about Kendrick. Stop trying to look at something to complain about because you just want to feel uncomfortable. People who complain about anything, that's like I'm out on eat in public. They probably might get offended behind that.
No, because they're afraid that you may eat all their food. That's why.
But I'm not gonna come over there and grab it off their plate. You know what I'm saying? Just I might ask politely. Let me get a piece of that sandwich. I'm just playing, people. I'm not gonna do that. This is all fun and games.
BRF.
Okay. I'm gonna start with this. To a particular demographic who's complaining about the Super Bowl and how boring it was and how you didn't understand. Okay, now the big one is how they didn't understand anything that he was saying. To a certain demographic, you can read between the lines of what I'm about to say. if you didn't understand what Kendrick Lamar was saying during that Super Bowl, but yet you could put on a Pearl Jam album, I don't want to hear you complain. I don't want to hear you complain. Because let me tell you something. The only song I know from Pearl Jam is Jeremy Spoken. And that's the only word I knew from that song. And that's another conversation.
Wait a
That's
minute. You
another
didn't know Even
conversation.
Flow? You mean to tell me you didn't know Even Flow?
That's the only other song I know from them. That's it.
You didn't know Present Tense either. You didn't know Present Tense from Pearl Jam.
Heck no, I wasn't in the Pearl Jam like that.
Come
No, I
on, man.
wasn't. I was not in the Pearl Jam like that. You pretty much named the only two songs I know from them, like straight up.
And probably the
So
only reason why you knew Even Flow because that was Jericho's entrance music back in WCW, right?
no, I've heard that song well before that. I heard that song well before that. I knew he got the concept of his intro song from that song, but I'd heard that song before. But yeah, like if you're gonna talk about you couldn't understand it and you'll listen to a Pearl Jam album, I want to hear you complain. That you just complain and just complain for obvious reasons. And I mean for obvious reasons. You can read between the lines. But that halftime show was well done and well put together. And really, I think one of the another biggest things that people want to complain about is, oh well, he didn't do like the really, he didn't do like all of his hits. He didn't do the songs that people knew. If you let me tell you something, that's a you problem. If you didn't know them songs he played during the halftime show, Humble is arguably his biggest song. DNA is arguably in his top 5 or 6 as far as his biggest songs. And I mean, and come on, bro, he did Euphoria, which has been played a crap ton. He did Squabble Up, which has been played a crap ton. Don't even get me started about Not Like Us. It's the biggest song of 2024. And then the Luther song with SZA is arguably one of the hottest songs out right now. And then he did All the Stars with SZA, which is arguably one of the greatest movie soundtrack songs of all time. So don't get here and talk about, oh well, he didn't do stuff he didn't do songs we knew. That's a you problem. Get out the house, touch some grass, listen to some good music. I mean, that's a you problem. Okay, we gonna leave that be. That was a really good halftime show. It was a really good halftime show. And just from the word go, you could just see what he was trying to establish with that. And I mean, he even said it in one of the lines, 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. I mean, come on, bro. Bro, from that one line alone is all you need to know what that performance was meant to do. It wasn't necessarily meant to just entertain you. It was meant to put some words out there for you to really understand what's going on in the world today. Kendrick Lamar is a thinking man's rapper. He make you think. And one thing he does as good as anybody out there, he makes people just a wee bit uncomfortable, which is what he did. And people don't like that. People don't like that at all. Well, guess what? Sorry, not sorry. That's all I got to say. Kendrick was awesome. He was awesome. That's one of the better Super Bowl halftime shows. The ones that complain about it, it wasn't for you. and I just leave it at that. But I mean, this is, and you know what though? I said I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again to the homie Drake. Don't bother going to the Grammys. Don't bother going to the Super Bowl. Player, just sit them out. Sit them out.
Oh, they
You
know.
you
They know.
you
They
you
know. I already clipped the video for it and everything. They already know.
you don't need to go no more anytime soon. When the entire Mercedes Benz Superdome repeats A minor, it's time to sit this out. You gotta let it go. Kendrick just was just throwing out little subtle shots the whole game. The A minor necklace, which was like chef's kiss, the little A minor necklace, the lowercase a. We knew where he was going. That was a chef's kiss. And then when he said the line and looked directly into the camera when he said it, because I mean, just little lines. I want to do their favorite song, but you know they love to sue.
Sometimes you
And
gotta pop out, folks.
oh my god, oh man! And then when he hit the say Drake Park in line, and he just looked dead into the camera, I'm just like, he is trying to literally professionally assassinate that man if he hasn't already. And then the whole stadium saying A minor was just like the cherry on top. I'm like, Drake, don't go no more. Don't if they invite you to the Super Bowl, say I respectfully decline. Just don't go. Just don't go. Don't go. Don't go. That was outside of the lyrical professional assassination we witnessed that night. It was a well done show. It had a strong message behind it. And it was Kendrick being true to himself. And I thought at the end of the day, that's what we want our artists to be, is to be true with themselves. That's one thing you can never say about Kendrick Lamar, is that he's never true to himself. He's been true to himself from day one, since the Section 80 mixtape and Good Kid, Mad City and Pimple Butterfly and Mr. Morale and the High Steppers and the Damn album. He's never not been true to himself. So you see people talking about you see some people talking about him trying to be relevant and stuff like that. That man has sold tens of millions of albums. This man just won 5 Grammys last week.
Yeah.
Sleeping.
How is he not relevant? This is the most relevant. This is the most relevant he's ever been.
Because BRF, it's just people who don't understand Kendrick Lamar or don't understand his music. If you're not a fan of his music, okay, fine. If you can't say nothing nice about the person, don't say nothing at all. If you don't want to listen to his music, change the channel, watch Netflix, go do something else. Just say, I'm not a fan of his art or his music, whatever the case may be. My thing is, that's fine. I ain't got no problem with his performance. Some people may have a problem with it because I mentioned the Serena Williams thing. To me, that's not a big deal. That to me, that's nothing. That's just a waste of time for people to try to make more of a narrative than it really should be. I mean, and the reason, and look, don't be mad at Kendrick. They picked him because he's hot. Because look at with Jay-Z and Rock Agency. Look at the artists that they've had. They brought in Kendrick. Last year they brought in Usher. 2023 they brought in Rihanna. Then 2022, okay, because of Cali, Dr. Dre, Snoop, and them. They've brought out a lot of artists hot right now. Of course, they were going to bring in Kendrick because he had the song of the year last year with Not Like Us. So it was pretty obvious. And for those who may not like Kendrick Lamar's style of music, then to me, you truly don't understand the pure nature of hip hop or rap.
No.
You really don't.
Hip hop was never designed to make people feel comfortable. It was never designed. I understand over the course of the last, I will say 20 years, it's been a little bit more crossover. It had a lot more of a crossover feel to it. But early hip hop was never designed to make the masses comfortable.
Right.
Matter of fact, let me give people a history lesson. If you crossed over too much in the early days of hip hop, when it was true hip hop, they called you a sellout. If you don't believe that, just ask the great MC Hammer. So guess
Stole
what?
my thunder.
Yeah, my bad. Great minds think alike. So it was never designed to make the masses comfortable. It was inner city music. It reflects what's going on in the inner city in our communities. It tells a story about what's happening in our community. Now, whether that be partying, whether that be political views, whether that be what's going on or anything else. I'm going to say an old saying that I used to love saying when I was talking about music. People love talking about gangster rap and you know how rap makes people feel uncomfortable. Suppose that me, BRF, and PSP just start doing podcasts and start rapping about the 6 o'clock news. Would it be still could be considered gangster rap then? Will it be still considered reality rap then? Or we just informing y'all about what's going on? And I'm not talking about just political stuff. I'm not talking about political stuff. I'm talking about just what's going on the 6 o'clock news, your local news. would it be still be considered gangster rap then? Or will it be considered political rap or reality rap then? If we're just rapping about what's going on the news? Because that's all hip hop is. It's our CNN. It's our 6 o'clock news. That's all that is. It tells a story. And if you don't want to listen to that story because it makes you uncomfortable, then turn the radio off. Hip hop was never designed. If you look throughout the history of hip hop, if you think about all of the controversial songs that we had just in the 90s alone, in that late 80s and 90s alone, and how uncomfortable it made the masses feel, that tells you how hip hop is. And I'm glad to see a person like Kendrick Lamar getting hip hop back to his roots. Guess what? It's not supposed to make you feel comfortable. It's not supposed to make anybody feel comfortable. You think a lot of people felt comfortable when Outkast said you need to get up, get out, and get something? It made every lazy person want to get off their behind. And if you was a lazy person that didn't want to hear, guess what? You turned it off because you realized they were telling the truth about you. So guess what? Hip hop was never designed to make the masses feel comfortable. Guess what? We just got to a point 20 years ago where they could feel comfortable, where the masses could feel comfortable. In the late 80s and early 90s, when hip hop first started, it was never designed to make the masses feel comfortable. Never. Like I said, if you crossed over too much, you were called a sellout. And they said that in every album. Even EPMD said that. I stick to underground, keep the crossover. Go listen to it. So hip hop was never designed to make you feel comfortable. I understand we're so used to bobbing our head and listening to party rap and drinking lean and doing all of that, doing on the hip hop scene the past 20 years. But guess what? Hip hop with Kendrick is at its roots. So guess what? It's not designed to make you feel comfortable. If you feel uncomfortable, turn the TV off. Turn it off. I mean, he got it on the song. Turn his TV off. He's telling you what to do. Turn it off.
I also think jealousy plays a factor. I do believe jealousy does play a factor with Kendrick because of the accomplishments, the success, to your point, Champ, how he is bringing hip hop back, taking it back from its roots into where it is right now. For those who are not familiar with Kendrick or hip hop music, if you're not a fan of his music, my thing is fine. Watch something else. Again, the only reason why I didn't watch the Super Bowl halftime show had nothing to do with Kendrick. I was just disgusted at the game. I had a legitimate reason. If you just are not a fan of his music, fine, but at least do something else instead of wasting your time crying and complaining. Because guess what? You're trying to ruin or disrupt someone else's fun. Nah, don't do that. Don't be the party pooper. Let people who enjoy hip hop listen to it. Yeah. And if you can't, hey, you can't. That's on you.
Exactly. And you could tell people who are saying this is the first time he's been as relevant as he is. I can tell y'all never heard Control. Y'all remember when he came out with Control? When he said he was the king of New York? Guess what? I can tell y'all was not listening to hip hop back then. I can tell that y'all wasn't paying attention to Kendrick when he made Spiteful Chant. I can tell y'all did not listen when he was making Sing About Me. I can tell y'all wouldn't listen to then, because if you would have taken the time to listen to the songs that he made when he first came out up until now, then guess what? It wouldn't have shocked you, the performance that he had. It wouldn't have shocked you. If you would have followed his career all the way back to the Mad City album, all the way up until now, it wouldn't have shocked you of that performance. And like I said, this is not even the first time he's ever dissed somebody. You remember the Control beat brought out a lot of things. And it caused one of my favorite artists to make one of his best songs. That Control that was made, that Control verse that he did, Kendrick, it caused Big Crit to make Mount Olympus.
And that's you
remember Mount Olympus? Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. I love Mount Olympus.
But that's the beauty of it, Champ. What they're not realizing is haven't we gotten great hip hop? Like with the Drake and Kendrick, haven't we gotten great hip hop? Haven't we gotten like the beefs and stuff like that? The wars, isn't that a part of hip hop? Isn't that its true nature? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And thank God that it's look. And thank God that it's the true nature of hip hop because it's all on wax. We're seeing the KRS-One versus MC Shan all over again. And the thing is, people are still going to go see Drake concerts. They're still going to see him right now, just like they did with MC Shan after KRS-One dissed him. Be thankful that it's not a all over beef like the East Coast West Coast rap war was, or like with John 50. Be thankful that it's all on wax. This is a rap beef. It was built. Rap was built on competition, and that's going all the way back to Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee. All the way back to Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee. That's how competitive rap has always been. And like I said, hey, look, you never know who might reconcile, man. You know, Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee, they cool to this day. They have a reunion damn near every single year of how they did on the rap wars. On the free, I think it was I forget the name. It was Freestyle Wars or something like that. I mean, Ice-T and LL Cool J became cool again. Competition is competition, man. You know, competition is competition, you know, and this is what hip hop is all about, man. Hip hop is a contact sport. I mean, even though that, you know, I mean, Big, God rest his soul, he dissed Kwame on Unbelievable. Your style is whack like Kwame and them polka dots. He even dissed Kwame. Hip hop is a contact sport, man. And like I said, that is the true nature of hip hop is competition. And like I said, be grateful that it's not like the East Coast, West Coast rap war. Be grateful that it's not like John 50, where things are just kind of going left every time you look around, or like Gaming 50. So be grateful that it's on wax and that each of them have their own audience and they can pick sides without it being a physical or an otherwise violent beef. It's a rap beef. You've seen this before. I mean, and if you're not familiar with rap beefs, you haven't been around hip hop for very, very long.